Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Welcome to Breaking Boundaries. This week we will be discussing hijab, the flag of freedom or oppression. I have the pleasure of being joined by two sisters on the show. Assalamu alaikum, sisters. Assalamu alaikum, sister. So I have with me Sister Georgia Krista Zulu. I hope I've got that right.
You've got it right.
Right. And Sister Zara Kazmi.
Yes.
Kazmi, the correct pronunciation. Okay. So this is a show where we try to explore, even if it's traditional subjects, from a type of different perspective. So we're going to stay away from the fiqh side of things and just talk about things experientially and just your perspective on hijab, the many dimensions of hijab. So I guess I'll start off with yourself, Sister Georgia, if that's okay, and ask you, how long have you been a hijabi?
I've been just under 2 years now hijabi. So it began when I reverted just under 2 years ago as well.
MashaAllah.
So ever since then I've been fully practicing the hijab and embracing that fully. And before I became Muslim as well, I've at times I would wear the hijab and try it on and see how I feel about it. Working up to what was becoming a follower of the Ahlul Bayt, alayhi salam. But yeah, it's been just under 2 years now.
So you were almost preparing yourself psychologically by the sounds of it?
Yeah.
Okay.
It actually got to a point where I wanted to wear the hijab so badly, but I would actually feel jealous of seeing Muslim girls embracing it so freely. But I knew in my heart I wanted to be Muslim at that point, but I couldn't practice it because of, other boundaries that I had at the time.
Sure. Okay, mashallah. So you were really preparing yourself.
Yeah.
I guess it's coming from maybe from a different perspective, but at the same time wondering, how long have you been a hijabi and the process? If you're okay to share with us your process.
Well, it's interesting because although we are, born as Muslims, my family, because they're from Southern Asia, they would tend to wear a thinner veil. So it's not actually a thicker hijab that they will be wearing. So my mother wore that, and I was expected to wear that, even though I was born in this country, or at least have modest long hair. So I discovered, and we were religious as much as our culture practiced allowed. We went to Muharram, we had lectures like that. But my mother wasn't, somebody who wore the hijab. So it was something that I discovered probably from the age of 16, 17, where I wanted to wear it at that point. And so yeah, it was something that I found for myself, and it was something that I was comfortable doing.
So can I ask you, you have a more formal type hijab that you are donning, and you said initially when you were younger it was a different style. Can I ask you, what was the inspiration for you? Because we know that there's specific commands in the Quran, and it mentions hijab, it mentions the term jilbab, but in terms of your own journey?
As I said, with my mother's cultural background, she obviously raised us as she probably was raised herself, with more emphasis on culture and religion. It was a part of that. So for me, it was being born and brought up in England. I didn't relate to that culture. So for me, it was something that, well, I don't belong to that culture, so I don't belong to the English culture. Where do I belong? And I think for me, it was a journey about finding myself. What was my belief? What did I want to do? And I think faith came into that question a lot at the age of 12 to 13, 14, about God, about what religion. My mother was originally Sunni, became Shia after marriage. So again, she had always encouraged us to look into our faith and know why we believed in what we did. So for me, it was about not being part of culture, but when I looked into Islam, I realised that yes, it's incumbent that a woman wears that. So that was a big factor for me to wear it, because I went back to the basics of, okay, what is a requirement of a woman, hijab, and all sorts of things. So that was where my journey came from.
And what about yourself, Jojo? We know that it's a command, and you were studying Islam before you actually formally became a Muslim. But sometimes people know that it's prescribed, but they may find it challenging. So what was the inspiration to get you to make that step? Because it does seem like living in a Western society like Britain, that it is a statement of sort. It is a big step in some respects.
It is, yeah. Well, like you said, it's to some it seems like a challenge, and for me that's exactly what it was. And coming from, like you said, a Western society and being raised and brought up in that way for how many years, till I was 18, 19. I did find it difficult to understand why women wear the hijab. So when it came to trying to understand Islam as a whole, I needed to take into account these factors as well. And I wanted to truly understand for myself why women wear the hijab. So after lots of research and reflection on it, and you know, seeing it with your own eyes in the society that you live in, you come to understand why Allah brings these commands in the Quran. So you know, after maybe many years, I did come to understand. And to me, the inspiration behind all of this was, I just wanted to follow the truth, because that's what I was seeking out for. I wanted to follow the truth with all my heart. So once I knew the understanding of the hijab, I just wanted to fully embrace that. And ever since I've been wearing the hijab, that's my sole inspiration to keeping up with that practice.
Alhamdulillah. You're both aware we're Brits here in this society. Islam and Muslims are under the microscope for the best part of the waking day in terms of news. And there's certain news items that we know is almost like winter, summer, and spring. They come around on a seasonal basis. Halal meat, Sharia courts, hijab, burqa. To burqa or not to burqa, that is a question. It all comes around. So, how did that feature, say, for example, in your step? Like being aware, like it's not a society which, you know, is Muslims, but it's quite nominal. It's pumped on a daily basis in the mainstream, and it's quite topical. So how did that play out for you?
I wanted to. I'm all one for breaking barriers.
For breaking boundaries, yeah.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. Breaking boundaries. So as knowing from where I came from, the understanding that I had, and the understanding that I've built for myself through educating myself, which is what I believe people should do, rather than jump to conclusions and make assumptions. I think you need to go away and read up on these things for yourself before you judge. So when I come across people's judgments, I kind of like to, you know, express what I believe is the truth, and just
you're not shy. You're not shy to share your story, your truth. Good.
So I find it an opportunity when people ask me, why do you wear the hijab? You know, why do you need to wear that? What's the purpose? You know, it doesn't mean just because you don't wear it, you're going to, you know, be seen as anything different. You know, so. But I think it really is the faith and the other spiritual meaning behind it that people lack the understanding of, which I think us as Muslims have a responsibility to share that light and allow it to hit other people's hearts and see what happens, you know. So.
How about yourself, Azhar?
I think George has made some very good points. Really it's about how you do portray yourself, your inner self, and like you're saying, the light needs to come out. And I think it's not something that you should have a barrier just because you're wearing it. It's with conviction you're wearing it. I mean,
How do you mean barrier? What do you mean by that?
In terms of, for instance, you're talking about the burqa. You talk about, you know, if you talk about the niqab, it's putting a barrier in the culture that we are, you know, we are living in. And if you look at, society here, they wear very colourful colours, they wear this and that, and I always believe we've got to adapt somewhat to it, so that you're not looking as a threat to anybody. I mean, I've worked in, predominantly white areas. I live in a white area in management, and yet I've never had any animosity. Even it's probably from ethnic minorities, but not from traditionally white people, you know, English people, to say, why do you wear hijab? It's always allow yourself to let people ask you, and I think that's really important, to be able to open, and so people don't feel like that, but there is a barrier that I can't ask because she may get offended. So
has there been that curiosity?
Definitely. I mean, I have always been questioned, and I'm absolutely fine with it. I prefer people to question me rather than think, why does she wear that? But I'm going to put her in a box. I want them to ask me why, because I think educating people on a one-to-one basis, being able to open up and explain, it makes sense to people. They may not agree with it. Like some women, I find, when I was working in the NHS, a lot of women would say, well, okay, we understand why you wear it, and we don't, it's nothing to do with us, but and we respect you for it, but it's not something that they would think, wow, she's just so different, I don't even want to approach her. And that's not the personality that you should have as a Muslim. You should be open and welcoming to people.
Approachable. Well, if you're this professional person, it's part of your job to be approachable. So I'm thinking that there is a difference between how maybe some of the arguments in the mainstream about niqab, you know, people can't see your expressions, or if you're in court, or if you're a teacher, or things of this nature. Have you had any of that type of feedback? And you're not wearing niqab, but have people approached you in that light and have sought to suggest that it's a problem because you're a student or a professional or whatever?
Sorry, George. Well, personally, I haven't occurred anything as yet, so.
Well, not as yet. We're not asking for it. How about yourself?
I think when you have open the debate of hijab, they want to understand why. For instance, we had an interfaith event recently, and there was a university lecturer there. She said, why is it some girls wear it in a certain way? Why is it in other styles? Why are they wearing niqab? And it is an understanding. I think, again, there's out of politeness, people will not question the burqa, but it is uncomfortable. I mean, you know, it's a cultural difference to them massively. Whereas I've always believed, okay, if you're going to work, you know, I wouldn't compromise my modesty. I wouldn't compromise on. Sure. But I will respect the land I'm in, and I think that you know, you can adapt as much as you can. So again, the niqab is something that I find it difficult personally to explain. I mean, I will, but I do find that, you know, it does create issues for, you know.
Indeed.
Let's leave it there.
Indeed. Well, we've entitled this show, you know, Hijab, the flag of freedom or oppression. Some would say that that's a little bit provocative. Maybe it's to provoke thought at least. But there is that, you know, never as a piece of cloth you could say, you know, polarized attitudes or views in one sense. So, and it always, or oftentimes, you know, discussions and debates around hijab tend to get into the gender issue. Is it your father forcing you to do it? Is it your husband forcing you to do it?
Yeah.
Does it fit in 21st century Britain? X, Y, Z. You mean you're familiar?
Yeah.
And I'm just interested to find out. We'll start with yourself. You know, your perspective on those type of arguments, or is that something in fact that you've experienced? So people say, "So, you forced?" They may make an assumption that you've always been a Muslim, practicing Muslim, and you've been forced. So, share with us.
Surprisingly, I've got that from family. So. Like, are your friends getting you to wear the hijab? Are you trying to fit in with a crowd? Sort of thing.
Peer pressure.
So, yeah. So that I've got that kind of you know, angle of it, but not from the other side. Not from like outside of family. People asking me why are you wearing the hijab and things like this. Apart from colleagues and just friends who are curious, more asking about it out of curiosity rather than just making a judgment. So, but obviously with my family, I don't want to talk bad about my family. Obviously, I love my family, and you
absolutely.
It's just the understanding that they haven't got that. I feel it's my responsibility.
I was about to say it's a perfect opportunity for you to, inshallah, just step by step, piecemeal, just teach them little by little.
Yeah.
How about yourself, Zara? What's your perspective on this? Because it is just polarizing. I mean, I've seen some debate shows and some discussions, and you know, considering that it's not being imposed on a person making a point, they're foaming at the mouth in you know, angst against hijab.
I mean, I have been asked, have I been forced to wear it? But I think I can hold my ground. I can. It's not something I can, because I do believe in it. I wouldn't have worn it if it was something I didn't firmly believe in. So, yeah, yes, you can get all sorts of questions. Obviously, if you're opening yourself to become approachable, then you will get all sorts of questions. That's absolutely fine. I know if they feel like, you know, maybe I was oppressed to wear it, then I can obviously, you know, say no. And that's I think an eye-opener to a lot of people that women, yes, I mean, I'm sure there are pockets in this country that are forced to wear it, and they say also, I've heard all sorts about young girls going to school wearing it, taking it off. Personally, I've never had people like that in my life. But you know, for me, it's always have the freedom to do what you want. If you want to wear it, wear it. If you don't wear it. It's a personal journey. So yeah, even if people do have that polarization attitude, I think it's our duty to kind of break those barriers. It's okay, because this is not part of this culture, and we've got to understand, and we can only build bridges.
Or is it? That's the question.
Well, it depends which way you're looking at. If you're looking at a secular society, you know, they're not going to be really warming to some, you know, women where the beliefs are, well, a woman should be seen, and you know, it's just the culture.
Because I'm thinking of this society, we say it's multicultural, and do we mean that just on the ethnic level, or do we mean multicultural as in subcultures? I mean, I remember growing up in the 80s and being in West End and seeing guys with spikes in their hair, you know, people dressed in all black, men with black fingernails and the whole goth thing, and, you know, so, I mean, everybody said, you know, fair crack to them, so.
Yeah.
But there's an element, isn't there? If there's ignorance, they say there's, you know, there's then fear, and then from fear grows other things. So if there's ignorance, and there's a lot, because we know the media spews a lot of ignorance about Muslim women are traditionally, you know, suppressed. So when they come across women that are don't fit that box, it can be puzzling, and you've got to break that, you know, and you can see it on people's faces, like, okay, you can actually speak English. You can actually, you know, hold your ground. So how are you fitting in with the perception I've had of you? And you've got to then gently say, well, actually, it's, you know, you've got the misconception, but it's fine. That's part of life, isn't it? You know, to break. I mean, my neighbours and I have lots of conversations about that, but it's part of life. It's about opening up to people and breaking barriers down, really.
It's very positive that both of your experiences, you know, that you've mentioned thus far hasn't really been that negative, more of a curiosity, because I mean, in some pockets, maybe it's the type of city that we're living in terms of London's quite cosmopolitan, but you know, some Muslims, particularly sisters, are experiencing like extreme, you know, forms of Islamophobia, like as in, you know, verbal assault, physical assault, but you know, the hijab is like a identifying thing.
Because I don't actually live
Muslims
in London, so I notice a little bit of difference within London to outside of London. I had an accident once, a car accident, and the guy had a Land Rover, bashed into my car, got out and screamed abuse at me. And this is way before the time we had Islamophobia.
But was that Islamophobia or was that road rage?
Well, no, because I don't know what his problem was, but at the end of the day, he turned out and he goes, women like you should be in Saudi Arabia. You're not even allowed to drive. And again, what was that? It was my hijab, and I just looked at him like completely, you know, wow, what a statement to make. And obviously his aggression was quite scary. But yeah, they do put you into a pocket of something that they can make an understanding of you. But that's this life. You will come across every type. You know, we know that. And in London, I think, yes, there are so many incidents. I mean, I remember when, you know, the Paris attacks happened, and I don't come on the train anywhere near London at that point, because you get that fear that, you know,
there's a vibe of hostility, right? Or suspicion or something.
I mean, I remember even going into our town centre and people kind of looking at you, thinking, okay, you look pleasant, but the thing that you're representing on your head, or the religion that you can see the bafflement on their faces, and I think. And it's again, smile. Don't assume people are just looking at you with hatred. And even if they are, then break that barrier down with pleasantness. I mean, that's the whole akhlaq of the Holy Prophet, wasn't it?
Right? That's the sunnah.
And I think if you come out with, you know, an attitude of, well, if you're going to give me that look and I'm going to give you one back, you'll not get anywhere. So just, you know, even if they have that misconception, just be pleasant back with a smile.
You will actually be surprised at how many actually support us. Like, they actually want to help us, and they want to, because there are very many. As much as there are people who have all these misconceptions about Islam and are so against Islam, there's just as many who are very open-minded to it and actually, you know, have good relations with Muslims, and they don't actually, you know, live by these other misconceptions that other people may have. So
it's interesting that you say that, and not just interesting, but very important, because what can happen to us as a Muslim community, or members of the Muslim community, we can get engulfed by the polarization and then think all the non-Muslims are out to get us. But when we're reminded by people that are in our lives, whether professionally or personally, that are good people and good to us, and sometimes facilitate and go out their way to help, you know, Muslims, then it's a reminder that it's you know, for us not to be prejudiced and to you know, because some people get into this thing, and the kuffar, as if it's just some generic person that hasn't learned their shahada or wasn't born to Muslim parents. What is the kuffar? You know, like, what's this about? You know, so.
But it's important not to feel like you have that victim mentality. I read a friend of mine had an incident yesterday on the bus. And she said that, and it was on social media, and she said, I got onto a bus and I removed my bag, thinking that this you know, black gentleman wanted to come and sit next to me, like he wanted the seat. She said, I moved the bag and he walked past me, and then she goes, she just turned around, she goes, I thought you wanted to sit here. And then he comes over and he takes a picture of her and he goes, you're racially profiling me. And she was, you know, just like, what? Because she wears a hijab. She goes, why?
He wasn't a Muslim as well, was he?
No, he wasn't. No. But he was so paranoid that she was moving her bag. He goes, you moved your bag because you thought I'd steal it. And she said, no, that wasn't why. I thought you'd like to sit next to you, like you needed a seat. She said, why would I racially profile you, who is every day profiled myself by people? But out of all of that, she was really upset that he took the picture. But what I saw from that incident was that he felt victimized, that people are moving their bags, and he didn't see the positivity in her action, he saw the negativity. And I think that's what scares me, that we start looking at things as a glass half full rather than glass half full, empty. Full. So
you can understand misconceptions because of the environment that we live in and the type of things that we've been pumped with. So I guess it would seem that he had drunk some of the juice of the, so to speak, to use a metaphor of what's going on out there. But never excusable, but you understand misunderstanding. So interesting as it is, but I'd like to invite you at home to join the conversation at any point with a comment or a question on 0203 515 1234. We're just approaching the break, but I guess what our next talking point will be is how has it actually changed your life? That's what I'm interested in, and yourself, because I guess you've got experience of your hijab evolving, if I can put it that way. So I guess that's where we'll be going after the break. But hope to see you on the other side, and feel free to call in after the break. Until such time, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.